Communicate across the sky until you hear the message sent through sound and light. So have no fear. Illuminate the radio frequency.
Good evening, welcome to Did You See That Golf After Dark? I'm your host, my name's Jason. I'll be with you for the next 30 minutes as we're talking golf, all things golf, including the Open Championship, the Barbasol Championship, and anything else we can fit in the next 30 minutes. It was a big week, huge week, seeing some of the biggest names in golf now and in the history of golf on that leaderboard. At Carnoustie is nothing short of amazing. By the way, I want to thank our host. The show itself, Did You See That Golf After Dark, is presented by the Arsenal Cider House with three great locations. The one in the North Hills, one in Lawrenceville, and one in near my home out of Trax Farms in the South Hills. So we want to thank those guys. They've been great partners for us, or with us, for a very long time, and we want to thank them for coming back on board. We'll be doing some shows on location there as the summer moves on, and even in the fall. But for the time being, especially Ryder Cup time, I do plan to do a nice big show there. But for the time being, let's dive back into the Open Championship. Everybody had their predictions to start. I watch the pro analysts talk about this stuff all the time. I talk to a lot of the local writers, get their take on things. And I heard one guy predict the winner. Just one. Francesco Molinari, what a great win he got, and Frank Nobilo was the guy who picked him. He and just the coverage that the Golf Channel gives, Brandel Chambly, he and Brandel, not gonna lie, as annoying as they are, they know everything there is to know about the players, their swings, who's hot, who's not. They've got a really good pulse on what's going on. Brandel had Tiger, and Tiger was in contention. Let's go back to Francesco first. Coming into the tournament, I thought he had a chance. I did not predict it. I didn't even come close. I mean, in my mind, I thought in my head this tournament played out for the likes of somebody like Ricky Fowler to finally break through, or Dustin Johnson to rebound. But Dustin was way too rusty. I took it into consideration. I just assumed he would play better. I think a lot of people did. I mean, in world number one, you just expect more out of the guy, and he just did not play well. Jordan Spieth's another one of those players that, I haven't thought much of this year, only because he struggled with the putter. Well, he had a share of the lead to start the final round. He and the other leaders were 3 strokes clear. And I was talking, and we went away this weekend, but I was following close, and I was talking to our friends who we went away with, and I said, somebody had mentioned, what would it take for Tiger to win this week? And I'll get back to Francesco in a minute. What would it take for Tiger to win this week? I said, and I blatantly said, you're going to need the leaders to falter. I did not think the course was going to heed was going to pull people back this week, or today in general, I should say. I just didn't see it. With as much movement as we saw last night or yesterday, I just didn't see everybody playing that poorly today. But that's exactly what you got. I also said that Tiger was going to have to go. He was going to have to get to 4 under for the day, which would have gotten him to 8 under or 9 under for the tournament. Would have won. In all actuality, if he had just gotten to 3 under, he'd had a tie to the lead. At one point, he was tied for the lead at 6 under. It took the likes of Jordan Spieth, Kevin Kisner to completely falter, and they really did. I mean, Jordan was moving along really well, and then exactly what we've seen from him all season: struggling with the putter. Just can't happen. If he's going to make a return to what he was a couple of years ago, he's got to show some confidence in that putter. Even when he putts well, it's not for elongated time periods. It's not for a whole tournament. It's now just for a round or two. And that is why you're seeing him compete for a round or two and then completely fall apart or falter. Back to Molinari. My buddy asked me, he's like, well, who is this guy? He's not much of a golfer, but it doesn't matter. He said, who is this guy? I don't know anything about him. My wife said the same thing. And I said, well, he's a European Tour player. He plays on the PGA Tour a lot too. I said, but he competes a lot on the European Tour. I said, he's like, well, he's charging. He's like, my friend was really pulling for Tiger. And he said, this Molinari, he's going to falter. I said, no, he's not. I said, he's probably one of the most consistent players on tour. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. Today, that was it. You saw it. You saw what made Molinari so good. He doesn't make mistakes. He shoots a bogey-free final round. 2 under par final round. It was ultra impressive. It was everything. It was everything he could do. But he was able to, put it together. He was able to play well, keep the ball in the fairway, limit his mistakes. Even when he did make a mistake, he made big putts when he needed them. That's what the other guys did not do. That's what the likes of Tiger didn't do. Tiger charged up the leaderboard and then found himself in the tall weeds. I will tell you, if you look at Tiger's career, he charged right up the record books, and then he found himself in the tall weeds, basically in every fashion. Now you see that he's playing well, but he's somebody who can't string it together for 4 rounds. You heard Phil Mickelson talk about this probably about a year back in an interview. And I found it interesting. Just because it makes sense. It makes sense for one of the older players. And no, 44, 46, 47, I mean, it's not old for a golfer. You see some of the PGA Champions Tour players play really, really strong golf, at the ages of 55, 60, whatever. But the fact is, when you're going up against the game's best players, and they're young, and they don't care, they have nothing else going on in their lives, they're just trying to build a career, they're in that prime, mentally they're locked in. Players like Phil and Tiger, they've already had their career. It's not to say they're not competitive. For one round or two, they're as good as any player on tour. But for 4 rounds, it is really hard to win, especially in a major, because there's just that much more pressure. Tiger's fighting two things going back to him. Tiger's fighting two things. He's fighting time and the record books. Everybody, including himself, wants to not only win regular tournament events, but he wants to win that handful of majors more so that he can overtake Jack, which is never going to happen in my opinion. And that is not a rip on him. The guy's had a fantastic career, but he's just not going to do it. He's just not going to. That break that he ended up taking, along with all the back injuries and all the back stuff that went on, that really hindered his career. To a point I don't think we see him. I don't know if we see him. No, I don't think he's going to win another major. I don't think we're going to see him win more than a couple, maybe 2-3 events for the rest of his PGA career. That's not to say he's not going to compete at a high level. That's not to say he's not going to get top 10 finishes. That's not to say any of that. That's just to say I don't know if he wins a major or wins too many tournaments. I mean, he finished at 5 under par today. He was 3 strokes back of the lead. And you can say, oh, well, that's close. It's very close. But the difference between now and then isn't just Tiger's ability to string 4 rounds together. It isn't that. It's everybody else's ability to just be better. They're all better. I had said this out loud once and I got ridiculed. I mean, beat to death on it. But the fact is, for 4 rounds, there's probably 10 to 15, maybe 20 players that are as good or better than he is. Once again, that's not to say for 1 round he can't be the best player in golf, because he can be. But for a 4-round span, for an entire tournament, there's at least 20 guys better than he is. Maybe not week in and week out, but in general, that have the skills that are better than he is right now. They are better equipped to win golf tournaments than he is right now. Mentally, and it maybe not just mentally, but also physically. All those injuries and all those tweaks that Tiger has made over the years has paid a toll on his body. Somebody like Phil, he's had an incredible career. He's got half as many wins. Would he have had more wins if he wouldn't have came up during the Tiger era? Sure. Maybe. Maybe not. Who's to say? But somebody like Francesco Molinari, who won today, right now, he's getting at or near the peak of his game. Plus, it was not a home course, but he's played there before. Or he's played that style of golf course way more often than some of the players that, led after 1, 2, and 3 rounds. For the first 3 rounds of the tournament, that leaderboard was littered. Absolutely 100% littered with Americans. That's not to say one is better than the other. That American golf is better than European golf right now, because I don't believe it. I mean, I believe that it's as good. It's much deeper. But the final round was led by 3 Americans. All 3 of them faltered. 2 of them have never won a major, so it's not a big surprise to see them both shoot 3 over. Xander Schauffele and Kevin Kisner. It's not a big surprise to see them. I would have loved to have seen one of those guys win win a major for the first time. And a first-time major winner, not just a first-time major winner, but also a first-time Open Championship winner, that's something that has happened a lot in the last 25 years. 17 times, in fact. 17 or 18 times, in fact. So when you saw those two names at the top of the leaderboard, and then you saw Jordan Spieth, you thought, well, maybe this is Spieth's opportunity to go back-to-back after his win last year at Royal Birkdale. But because he can no longer because he's struggling this year with his putter, almost as much as I am with my speech. He's struggling so much this year with his putter, and it's not just putter, it's not just him putting, his ability to, it's his confidence. There's been tournaments in the last 2 months where he'll make a putt and he almost looks surprised. He played a great third round. His fourth round left a lot to be desired. But today you saw players like Rory McIlroy and Justin Rose shoot under par to move up the leaderboard. They took advantage. They knew all they had to do was stay close. Don't make mistakes. But the likes of Kisner and Schauffele, they struggled because they were trying to do more. When they would get in trouble, they tried to do more than they could. You know, it's funny when you're a child and you get in trouble. Kids rarely come out and say, "Yes, I did it. I broke the lamp." Well, how does the story go normally? It's, the dog was chasing me and I was trying to get out of the way of a bee, and then I tripped over the lamp because the bee was about ready to sting. It's never the fact that you broke the lamp. If you'd have just come out and said, "I broke the lamp," it would have been fine. The issue is in the cover-up. The issue is always in the cover-up. And that's no different. No different than what we see now with the likes of the playing of Xander Schauffele and Kevin Kisner. They'd hit the ball into the weeds, and instead of just trying to make the best coming out in that second shot, or making that second or third shot, just trying to get it out to where they can make a play and save a par, they were trying to make too big a play. They were trying to make too big a shot, and they would get into deeper trouble. And then deeper trouble, and then next thing you know, especially in Jordan Spieth's case, double bogey, bogey, and you go from 9 under to 4 under to 5 under, and then you finish at 4 under. What an absolute disaster of a day from a 3-time major winner. You want to talk about frustration? Absolute total frustration. It has to be him right now. A guy like Tony Finau was 6 under yesterday, was part of the lead pack at one point. He finished 2 over yesterday. He finished even today. He did exactly what he needed to do today. The problem is he faltered yesterday. He's a type of player, though. Finau finished tied for 9th. Tied for 9th. Another top 10 finish in a major. That's just what he does. He's a young player that can absolutely bomb the hell out of the driver. He's a fun player to watch. Young too, and that's the great thing. When you look down the list, yesterday you saw the likes after going into the third round. Zach Johnson, who had won here a few years back, had an opportunity to win another tournament. But two straight rough days, and he finishes at 2 under. Really, really frustrating for him. Gotta be. Phil Mickelson, of course, finished at 1 under. Bernhard Langer might be the biggest I mean, and I don't, and not the biggest name by any stretch, but he's a senior tour player. He's in every tournament or wins every senior tour tournament. I mean, the guy is just, he's a walking miracle how great he's been as a seniors player. He's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And he, won under par on a very difficult golf course this week. People talk about how, the U.S. Open is the biggest test in golf, and it absolutely is. It absolutely is. When the USGA is feeling gnarly, they make that whatever course they're on, except for Chambers Bay, of course, they can make whatever course they're on pretty dastardly. Well, the R&A know how to mess with golfers too. The courses over in the British Isles, a lot of those courses are set up. There isn't a ton of, there's not a ton of length, but there's a lot of wind and can be a lot of weather. And this week, they don't water fairways. They haven't had a lot of moisture in 5 weeks. They only water the greens. Well, by only watering the greens, those fairways were absolutely diabolical as far as how far they ran. So if you were in the fairway, good for you. Great job. If you weren't in the fairway, that ball would run straight into trouble. Straight into trouble. So, and the fairways were tight. Carnoustie has an ability on the back nine to really make you pay, and it did this week. 8 and 9 on the front nine, 8 and 9 on the front, 7 and 8 on the front nine, I should say. Very difficult holes. Played extremely difficult. I'm just going to say 7, 8, and 9 because it's 2 of the 3 were the most difficult on the golf course today. That course has teeth. Yes, the winner finished at 8 under. We didn't see a ton of rain, and when it did rain, the scores were better. We did not see a ton of rain. It wasn't so windy like it can be. The weather was fairly benign this week. And that golf course figured out a way to hold people back. And to me, that's what I want to see. That's exactly what I want to see in a major championship. I don't want to see 26 under par for 4 rounds in a major. That's a lot. Or 16 under par. Hell, I really don't want to see 10 under. 8's plenty. But it was everything they could do to get to 8 this week. Yes, they were 9 under to start the day, but guess what? All of those guys fell back. So it was everything the best players in the world could do to not only stay under par, but just to get to 8 under. So well done. Well done. Let's quickly divert, devote the last handful of minutes of the show to the Barbasol Championship. That's going to finish tomorrow. It'll be live on the Golf Network, the Golf Channel. Horrible weather today, so they're going to complete it tomorrow, the final round. Your leaders, there are 4 at the top. Troy Merritt, Tom Lovelady, Hunter Mahan, Robert Streb. All 3 are at 18 under. PGA Tour, what is their logo? We live under par. You bet your ass they do. These tournaments and these golf courses are set up to roll over and play dead for the game's best players. I mean, I have never seen a year like this where every tournament is 15, 16, 17 under par, 18 under par. LPGA Tour winner last week or the week before, I mean, it was 20-some under par. I don't know what we're doing as a golf community, but I'm not buying into this. I may be the only one, and I'm okay with it. But to begin the tournament, before the tournament started, I made some predictions, and my long shot this week, and I talked about Billy Horschel, Steve Wheatcroft. I thought the two of them had a shot. They're both at 16 and 17 under. They're within reach. So, I feel good about that. David Lingmerth was my other one. But my long shot, to me, isn't much of a long shot, but my long shot was Hunter Mahan. He's tied. And Mahan has not had much of a year. He's even played some Web.com tour events. But he's played really well as of late. And I would love nothing more than to see him pull out a victory tomorrow morning. I would love it. He's a good guy, a good player. When he's on, he's really, really good. He doesn't have a ton of wins to show for it. But he's a guy that if he could get right, learn how to win, which means just win a couple of tournaments, he's a guy that could win majors. He's not very old. It's not like he's an old man by any stretch of the imagination. Let's look up his age real quick. He's 36. He's 36. He's had 13 victories, or 1 victory in his career. But see, this season, as I mentioned, no top 10 finishes. Likely he'll get one this week. So, would love to see him do well this year, or this week. Would love to see that win. Not that I'm pulling for him, so don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here hoping and he's I have no dog in this fight. Let's just say that. But the fact is, he's been he played 4 web.com events. He's got 125 top 25 finish. He's made 2 cuts. He's been cut twice. As far as it goes, he's just trying to survive right now, and a win would go a very long way into fixing into fixing some things. And he's somebody that needs a little help right now, quite frankly. And this is just what it can do for him. So, but let's fall back to this for just a minute. Let me divert just a minute. The Web.com tour, it's a tremendous tour, and a lot of great players have gone from there and moved up. But it also provides a player like Hunter Mahan the opportunity to step back, right the ship, and then get back. And maybe that's what it's doing right now. And maybe, just maybe, Hunter has figured some things out. He tees off at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. I can't tell you. I can't, if you're home, if you're able to get away, or you can turn it on your phone. If you've got the PGA Tour Live app on your phone, turn it on. Listen to it. It's Monday golf. My goodness, it doesn't get any better than that for a golf fan. It's Monday golf. Anyway, some other guys in the tournament, or in play, I should say. David Lingmerth's at 15. J.J. Henry's at 15. Brian Gay's at 16. Steve Wheatcroft, like I said, is at 16. Heck, Davis Love III is sitting at 14 under. He and his son played in this event. It was their 12th event. It was their 12th event that they played together. So that's kind of cool. And for only the 12th time, or 5th time in the history of the PGA Tour, we had a female play. Let me get that. Where did she finish? Got to figure out. I don't want to lead you astray. I had prepared fairly well for the other, but I didn't get finished up with this. Drew Love, by the way, finished at 1 over, which was very cool. but it wasn't good enough. Was not good enough to make the cut. Hell, it's something else to bring up before I pull up that score. One of the issues I have with these golf courses being so, I don't know, like pushovers. They're just straight pushovers, or rollover. I mean, they just roll over and play dead. The PGA Tour events, a lot of these TPC courses and whatnot, that's what they're doing. They just roll over and play dead. -3. If you are -3 after 2 rounds and you can't make the cut, yeah, these guys are good. There's no doubt about that. But let's take a good, long, hard look at how we're setting up the golf course. It doesn't need to be easy. It doesn't need to be easy. I will tell you, and I promise you this, for the average golfer, the golf courses aren't setting their courses up easy for us. They're not. They're not at all. So don't sit there and claim they are. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm just not. Brittany Lincecum, that's the name. She went 6 over on her first round. Shot 1 under on her second round, so finished at 5 over. Like I said, it was only the 5th time in the history, but she had a lot of fans out there, and it's nice every once in a while you get a special exemption. I do not believe women should be playing on the PGA Tour. I don't believe it's something in the long term it's ever going to happen. But what I do believe is every once in a while, in a situation like what we had this weekend, where you've got a PGA Tour event, which is fairly benign. It's the top players on the PGA Tour are not going to be playing that event. They're just not. Because they're over in Europe playing the Open Championship against Europe's best. It's the world. The Open Championship crowns the champion golfer. And this week it was Francesco Molinari. As I said, follow the Golf Channel tomorrow. I don't always give pub to everybody else, but the fact is the Golf Channel tomorrow is going to have, it'll likely be the morning drive right into round 4 of the Barbasol Championship. So dial in and take a listen. In the meantime, I appreciate you guys coming on board with me this week. Catch us next week when we recap the week that was. Eventually, we're going to be bringing on some guests and doing some other things. Also bringing in a couple of my writing partners and broadcast partners along the way. We'll be also covering some local stuff, some local tri-state PGA events coming up. The West Virginia Classic, I believe, is coming up in a week or so. And I'll be bringing you coverage on that also. In the meantime, thanks again. This was Did You See That Golf After Dark. Time to take it out.